Hey, how you doing? It is Monday and we're on the walk today. What are we going to talk about today? Let's talk about, there's a church. So let's talk a little bit about how and why I left the church. All right. Now, I grew up Catholic. Went to Catholic grade school from the age of first grade to 8th grade. And slowly over that time, I started to realize that the fundamental things that I was being taught were not being delivered by those in charge. Meaning, the religion is supposed to tell you how to be a good person, and numerous of the upper clergy were simply not good people. My 8th grade teacher, Sister Eucharia, yeah, you like that? Like Eucharist. She was mean, just kind of psycho and mean. They ended up taking her away after I'd left school, and she ended up in a state hospital. But that's a whole other story. But I start to realize these things, and I just see this hypocritical sort of do as I say, not what I do sort of mentality, which did not rub me well. I was a weird kid at the time. But my 8th grade teacher, Sister Eucharia, in class, I knocked my friend unconscious. And I only had one friend. I was a weird kid, and not many kids liked me. But I had one friend, Dennis Potter. Wherever you are now, I'd love to talk to you. But at one point, Sister Eucharia clubbed him over the head with a yardstick, with the thin side of the yardstick, creased his scalp. He fell down onto the floor, bleeding profusely from the head, blood everywhere. She grabs his unconscious body by the shirt collar and drags him out of class, leaving the rest of us sitting in class going, whoa, looking at the blood trail out the door like a scene in a movie. And he kind of had deserved it, I will say. At one point, she picked on him quite a bit. And at one point she'd picked on him too far, and he jumped up onto his school desk and said, "You're just pissed off because you never get any." And that was when the yardstick came down hard upon the scalp of this boy's head. Like 13, maybe 12. Anyway, creases his scalp. She comes back to class saying, "Dennis has been expelled. We will not be seeing Dennis anymore. Now, can we all tell us what we give up for Lent?" I'm like, oh, I'm just brimming. And there's a game to what you give up for Lent in Catholic grade school. It's kind of a one-upmanship. The first kids got it easy because they can just say strawberries, which aren't even in season. I give up strawberries, right? Okay. Well, the next kid's got to top that by saying, I give up strawberries and chocolate. Okay, so now we're up to chocolate. And the next kid's going to say candy. All right. So now we're all the way up with all candy. And then somebody will say TV, and that's it. It's like all avenues. There's no more higher place to go, except for me. When she just gets to me, I just snap and say, she said, "Kevin, what do you give up for Lent?" And I'm like, "The Roman Catholic Church." And there was a deafening pause. And she stared at me. And she stared at me. And she stared at me. And from that moment on, I ceased to exist as a human being in her classes. She stopped calling my name with roll. She, if I was the only one that knew an answer to the question, I'd raise my hand, and she'd just, "Does no one know the answer to the question?" I'd be pumping my hand in the And the ironic thing was that I was full on out at that point. I'm done with this. Most violent act I've ever seen done is by a nun. All right, I gotta give this up. And so the next few Sundays, I'm like, I'm not going to church anymore. And it was a big argument about that. And I was like, hey, you don't want me there if I don't want to be there. My parents really couldn't argue with that kind of logic. And then the next weekend after that, I stay home. And my dad's like, I'm going to stay home with Kevin. I don't like him being here all by himself. I'm like, yeah, you stayed home so you could watch football on TV. Paid little attention to me while he was doing that. But the next weekend after that, it's my brother. He's like, hey, if Dad and Kevin don't have to go to church, then I don't have to go to church. Okay, so I drug the entire family, away from the faith. But I realized that there's just got to be a better way to be a good person than to go by the examples I was being shown. And I hope that I've continued to do that throughout the rest of these, 45 years since any of this went down. But I love y'all. Happy holidays. It's that time. And if you like this video, you know what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to go to the Facebook page and hit the like button on it. That's really a good thing. Leave a comment. That's good too. And more people can watch these. And if you really like these, then, subscribe to the channel. Bye.